Mando and Grogu's journey has come to a close, so let's go over the things you missed in episodes 5 through 8 of The Mandalorian Season 3.
Yes, 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 yes.
When the space pirates invaded Navarro, Greef Karga did what I do every time I run into trouble in Knights of the Old Republic: fail an intimidation check. Unfortunately, Captain Gorian Shard saw through Greef's poker face, biting back with,
"This isn't Sabacc. You can't bluff your way out of this one, Karga."
I gotta hand it to Filoni. I didn't think anyone else saw Solo. Those space poker scenes with him and Lando were sick. Or maybe he read one of the earlier drafts of Empire Strikes Back, where Lando won the entirety of Cloud City over a game of Sabacc too. It's always refreshing to see what the denizens of a galaxy far, far away do for fun when they aren't being invaded by space Nazis. But what happened to Pazaak from Knights of the Old Republic? Did the game die along with the Old Republic? Are there diehard Pazaak fans that shun the new wave of Sabacc specialists? I need answers. When Gorian's grilling Greef for gunning down his goons in cold blood, Greef says it like it is.
"He shot first."
Now we all know he's talking about the first episode of this season when Greef and Mando took on a bunch of space pirate goons that were causing a ruckus at the local cantina. But we all really know that line's a callback to the never-ending debate surrounding the events of A New Hope. If somehow you've avoided Star Wars discourse for the past 2 decades, I'm insanely jealous. Han Shot First became a meme following the re-release of the original trilogy, where it was re-edited to make it so Han shoots the bounty hunter Greedo in self-defense. We're all frothing at the mouth for the Ashoka series, and the people behind the show are definitely aware of that. That's why they dropped everyone's favorite hairless Wookiee, Zeb, into this season's 5th episode. In case you didn't watch Star Wars Rebels, Zeb is basically if Chewbacca could talk.
He can stay.
He was even based on Chewie's original design that was scrapped in favor of our favorite walking carpet. His full name is also Garazeb Aurelios. Yeah, I just stick with Zeb too. But that same scene also gave us a quick glimpse of Trapper Wolf, who's played by Dave Filoni, who everyone knows as the savior of the Star Wars franchise. You rock that cowboy hat, you beautiful human being. When his subordinates suggest they retreat from their assault on Navarro, Gorian scoffs at that idea with the phrase, "in a puffer pig's eye." This is the Star Warsification of the common phrase, "in a pig's eye," which is what people say when they're expressing disbelief in something. Or at least that's what I would say if people actually said that, because I have never heard that in my entire life. I was more of a when pigs fly kind of kid. But if that mind-blowing revelation wasn't enough for you, everyone's favorite smooth pimp daddy Lando revered the puffer pig. He had an entire episode of Rebels dedicated to him fighting alongside Hera and the gang to rescue his pet puffer pig from the Varluk organization. Hopefully we'll catch up with Lando and his pet puffer pig in his Disney Plus show. It wouldn't be a season of The Mandalorian without cameos, and I know everyone flipped out when Lieutenant Reed showed up, right?
Captain Tava to Lieutenant Reed.
Read to Tava?
Lieutenant Reed? He showed up in the Book of Boba Fett along with Captain Teva. It's okay, I know I'm the only one who remembers anything from that show before Din Djarin hijacked it, but I'm not just gushing about a minor cameo. Lieutenant Reed's actor, Max Lloyd-Jones, had actually appeared in The Mandalorian before this season. You might recall that famous scene where Luke Skywalker saved the day at the end of Season 2, aka the hallway scene from Rogue One, but in reverse. You might not have realized it due to the uncanny CGI, but Maxie here was the body actor for our favorite Jedi Master. Alright, everybody knows about Jack Black showing up in the 6th episode. Even if you don't care about Star Wars, you probably saw people joking about Bowser showing up in this episode since the Mario movie came out within the same week. I can't really blame them, considering that everything involving Axe Wove and Bo-Katan was stuck at the beginning and end of that episode though. And man, the opening shot of that episode was so cool, mirroring the iconic opening shot of A New Hope. It's nice to see that Axe has a respect for the classics. It's great to see modern Star Wars give so much love to the Clone Wars and other animated projects, from Ashoka's amazing episode of Mandalorian Season 2 to the mind-blowing, albeit questionable, reveal of Cad Bane in Boba Fett. Fans of the Star Wars cartoons are eating nicely nowadays. Episode 6 marked the first live-action reference to the Techno Union, when Din and Bo discovered that the battle droids on Plazir 15 were commissioned by that very organization. But who were the Techno Union? They were basically the guys that funded the construction of battle droids, weapons, and starships for the Separatist Council during the Clone Wars. They first appeared in Attack of the Clones, led by Wat Tambor, Pago the Lesser, and Gu Mei Sam. Each of these characters deserve a spin-off, and I want them now. You might think I'm joking about how important they are, but they are responsible for keeping one of our favorite clone troopers from succumbing to Order 66. If you don't believe me, watch Clone Wars Season 7. I don't know where to start with the season finale. So many epic moments that'll be rewatched and memed to infinity and beyond. But it's safe to say that every fight scene with Din and Moff Gideon absolutely stole the show. The Lasergate scene was an incredible homage to the Darth Maul fight from The Phantom Menace, with the smoky ambiance from Empire's duel between Luke and Vader. That whole scene was basically John Wick in Star Wars, with Mando using everything he can grab to take out the goons in his way, even other goons. But the influences don't stop there. The final encounter sees Moff Gideon flanked by Praetorian guards, aka the big red badasses that guarded Emperor Palpatine. Gideon's upgraded Dark Trooper outfit is clearly a fusion of Vader's suit with Maul's pointy horns. He even whips out a shock staff to mimic Darth Maul's dual blade. Man's got good taste in villains. I can't tell what was more of a surprise in this season, Grogu's IG-11 mech suit, or how far Filoni and friends are going to connect the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy in the show. Fans have speculated since season 1 that the Empire's interest in Grogu was all leading to cloning Palpatine.
Yes.
And we'll get to that in a bit, but I don't think anyone was expecting the parents of any character from the sequel trilogy to show up. Although, considering that Star Wars loves revealing surprise parents as much as Disney loves milking its franchises, we should have seen this coming.
Yes.
I'm talking about Commandant Brendol Hux appearing in the Imperial holographic Zoom call. General Armitage Hux of the First Order is everyone's favorite butt monkey turned short-lived spy, and it's impressive to see the foundation of the First Order forming in the ashes of the Empire. The Imperial Zoom call also gifted us the first live-action appearance of Gilad Pellaeon. If you never read any of the books, Gilad served under Grand Admiral Thrawn, the fan-favorite blue-skinned tactical genius of the Legends canon. Thrawn has been reintroduced to the new canon via Star Wars Rebels, and Gilad actually made his canonical debut in the novel Thrawn: Treason, which was written by the original creator of Thrawn and Gilad, Timothy Zahn. In his brief cameo, Gilad warns that Thrawn's return needs to be kept shrouded in secrecy. Basically, he's an ad for the Ashoka series, as if that show even needs it. My biggest hope for that show is that we get to see how Thrawn dealt with the space whales after getting teleported away at the end of Rebels Season 3. Admit it, you cried a little at this part. Grogu shielding everyone from the fiery explosion of a crashing Star Destroyer was a beautiful callback to the ending of Season 1. Some might criticize this as just another nostalgic callback, but considering how this season really caps off Din and Grogu's journey, it fits. Okay, we all knew that Paz Vizla wasn't going to make it out of this season alive. Fathers don't get to stick around in Star Wars for long, and he went out like an absolute champ, holding his own against 3 Praetorian guards with nothing but a vibro knife and a tiny laser shield. Keeping in line with the epic homages in this 2-part finale, Paz's sacrifice mirrors Bae's from Rogue One. Both are lesser machine gun wielding tough guys that ultimately sacrifice themselves for the sake of the mission. Thankfully, unlike Rogue One, our heroes managed to make it out of this one alive. And while Paz may now be one with the Force, his legacy will live on in his son. Hopefully we'll get to see him and Grogu spar next season. Okay, we all want an action figure of Grogu in the IG suit.
Yes.
Him coming to save Din, luring away the Praetorian guards while mashing the no button, was equal parts adorable and heartwarming. It also felt like an homage to the re-release of Return of the Jedi, where George Lucas added in Vader's iconic "No" when he picked up Palpatine and tossed him down a shaft, never to be seen again until he somehow returned 3 movies later. I guess you can say this edition makes the scene feel all the more special? So, was anyone else blown away by Moff Gideon revealing that his clones could use the Force? I still can't tell if this is more surprising than Jack Black and Lizzo showing up.
No.
Anyway, this looks like what everything with Dr. Pershing experimenting on Grogu was leading up to, replicating his genetic sample to somehow reproduce midi-chlorians. Alright, apologies in advance, but we have to acknowledge and remind ourselves of what midi-chlorians actually are. Established in The Phantom Menace, midi-chlorians are microscopic beings residing in our cells that allow sapient beings to communicate with the Force. They're basically Star Wars Lorax, they speak for the Force. It's always been seen as an unnecessary extra step for space wizards to use space magic, but kudos to the writers for being able to include them in a way that makes sense for the story.
It often takes a new perspective before one is able to see the light.
Moff Gideon mentioned Project Necromancer along with the cloning process in the Imperial Zoom call, and while his end goal was to make a force-wielding clone army, we can likely assume the project is how Palpatine will somehow return in Episode 9. Din and Grogu's journey this season comes to an end with Grogu being welcomed into the Mandalorian tribe, granting him the name Din Grogu. This is an homage to the series' primary inspiration, the revered Japanese manga Lone Wolf and Cub. The epic tale of a disgraced samurai on a journey with his 3-year-old son has been one of the most influential stories in the medium. While Din's story definitely differs from that of Ogami Itto, the naming convention of last name first name shown in the season finale is reflective of Japanese customs, just another way that our lone Mando and foundling feel like a real family. And hopefully nothing bad will ever happen to them in the next season. And that's a wrap. This season definitely went in some directions that nobody could have predicted, expanding the Star Wars universe and leaving a lot of threads open for future shows. What was your favorite part of this season? Do you think Jack Black will make his return as the Sith Lord Jack Blacker? Let us know in the comments below.